What's up, guys? It's Night Days, and I think it's about time I do a full tutorial on how to play the game. I've tried this multiple times, never ended up working out. But essentially, let's start with the basics, right? So you have Go, which is R2 on console, right? Then you have Reverse. Then you have Jump. If you hold Jump, you get thrusters. Then you have Flip, and you can flip back. Flip left, flip right, flip down, flip up, and go all the way up, flip down, and this is a mag flip down. And then there, if you hold, so if I go, let's say I just keep going, right? If I hold a direction, it's gonna start an auto drift. There is a drift button, and that's when you press the button to drift. You can end the drift by pressing the other way. Or if you want to, you can keep pressing it to keep extending it. So most people and how the game would tell you how to play, at least in that first part of the tutorial, which is why I'm not using the tutorial because it kind of sucks, is they would kind of want you to play this way, right? Where you're not using your drift button, you're only using your directional inputs to drift, right? And this is not very fun. This is not very interactive. I see the argument of oh, we need items. Because you do a turn like this and you lose your drift like that. Now, not going too far in, right? Let's say you start using your drift button a little bit more, right? Just staying on the track for now. The drift button more, get a nice drift over there. Remember that flip? You can flip to walls, right? Here we go, coming up, you're in the air, flip to the wall. Basically flip in the direction you want to go to, right? You can also drift, and flip down. Now, you might notice when you start a drift, you see this green bar build up. Whatever that bar is at, after you end your drift, is how much boost you're gonna get relatively. The issue is once you start it, right, you go in the air and you let go of the button, right? Say I start a drift and I go in the air, I let go of the button, oh no, my drift is gone, right? If you don't come back to the ground and clear that boost, you're not gonna get it. Or you clear the drift, you're not gonna get it. So if I do something like this and then I let go, boom, my drift is gone. But if I do this and hold it down and then come back to the ground, I still have the boost from the drift. There is upside down. You can go upside down, and I'll show you an example of this. Right. If you're driving, you can drive. You can stick to the ceiling. You can drive upside down, and the same rules apply. You can drift when you're upside down. Right. You can drift. And then once you leave the upside down state, your car will automatically flip to the other side. So let's see what a regular run would look like. None of the fancy stuff, just a regular run. Using everything I've taught you in these 7 minutes. Remember, flip down, yeah. Remember to hold your drift on this part, because you could lose it. Flip down. Flip to rearrange yourself. And there, you have learned pretty much 80% of rocket racing within 7 minutes. Alright, so we're on K2 Raceway, and let's talk a little bit more about drifting. So, you know, when you start a drift, you get that green bar, right? And in order to get a little mini boost, you gotta lock that bar out. Well, now look at my speed. My speed says 570 right here, right? When I lock it out, I go to 820, and then it starts dropping once I go into another drift again. Now it's back to 570. Drift again. It's going down. Your speed will always be going down in some way unless you have a drift to counteract it, basically. So once again, your base speed is gonna be around 570. You want to stay above 600. Let's see what happens if we keep our speed above 600 the whole time. No flipping, just straight drifting. Remember to hold it down when you're in the air. And I'm using half my controls here to lock it out. Alright, for the rest of the tutorial, I'm calling this like building of drift, right? And then returning to neutral as locking it out. So, you drift, you see it's going down, but you can't really let go of it until you clear that curve. In the air, can't really clear it, boom. Drift in the air, clear it. Alright, we're getting to a point to where we can lock it out. Boom. Lock it out. Try another drift, lock it back out. And you can just practice that. Now let's get more intuitive with it. And instead of just drifting, we're going to add a little bit of flipping to it. Alright, and remember you can flip in a drift. If you're going to flip in a drift, always flip towards where you're going. Alright, extending the drift a little bit. Boom. Getting to a point where we can clear it out. Been perfect, and you can practice it just like that. Now, these last 4 minutes, we're gonna add on another factor of speed, which are the boost or the turbo. So you might notice as we're drifting, we're building up that purple bar to the left, right? And now we have a bar, and we can still build up this bar right here. Invert, do the flip. If I come down, I can boost, and this gets you most of your speed. Alright, build a drift, say I'm low, walk it out, boost, and keep that speed all the way to the finish line. Now it's important to note when you're boosting that it's basically a mini game. It's like a timing mini game. So you see I have a boost now, right? Let's start another drift. I'm gonna boost here. And you see how that flashing triangle is right there? If you press that again, you'll get an extra part of your boost, which is essential if you want to ever make it within rocket racing. So this time, I'm gonna press it at the correct time. And you can practice that on this track. Now, there is a factor of speed that I did not mention that there's only one of on this track, but it's still worth mentioning to some degree. These boost pads right here. Whenever you hit a boost pad, you get 100 kph. You get a plus 100 kph for, I want to say, around 2 seconds. And that'll be important. Now sometimes you're gonna get a double boost, and that gives you 200, right? But that's few and far in between. But if you get it, it's a great thing that happens, and you might even get a faster time. So let's see what a regular run looks like. And All I'm doing is jump and flipping towards where I'm going. Jump, flip, drift, 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 drift. Lock it out. Start another drift to get the positioning, and boom. So that's a little bit on how speed works. So here we are on the Olympus. We're gonna work on our flips a little bit. Alright, so remember, when flipping, you can flip to the left, flip to the right, flip up, flip down. In a drift, flip up, flip down, flip forward, flip back. It's the same way if I drift the other way. So now that we got that out of the way, let's look at some of the terrain here. So you see how this terrain is bumpy, right? And it causes you to, like, you know, it's all wonky. What you can do to minimize the amount of weirdness is start a drift on the wall. Boom. It's a little tip for you. But there's another thing I want to talk about alongside the flipping, and it's aerial tilt. So if I come here and I don't press anything, I clear the gap. If I hold forward, well, what happened, you know? So turns out once you're in the air, you can tilt your car up and down. See how when I'm in the air, my nose is kind of like tilted downwards? If I hold back, it looks like this. That's important. And I'm gonna show you the power of it real quick. If I hold back, no boost or anything, and feather my jump, I can clear this whole gap with no boost or anything. And you can't do that if your nose is facing down. So just as a general rule of thumb, when you're in the air, just try to hold back. You always guarantee the safe landing. If you're doing this, even if I tried to, I'm not getting anywhere. If I hold back. Maybe put a nice little flip at the top. I can make that gap easily. Remember, you can flip to walls. Same here. Flip. Flip. Flip right again. Clear the gap. It's very simple, and you can practice just doing that. But now I'm going to show you what a mag flip is. So if I come here, start a drift, say I boost, you see how my car just kind of like flew towards the thing, and I'll run it back if you need to. That's called a mag flip. And all that's doing is you're kind of tricking the game to thinking that you're about to like flip towards a surface when you're really not. That's all it is, right? Like, I can do it anywhere. Boom. But like, you can do it anywhere there's a surface and you're lined up correctly. Alright. That's all it really is. But we'll go over tunnels in the next one. Actually, I think we're gonna stay on this track. Yeah, I'll see you when we get there. So yeah, like I said, we stayed here, but this time I'm gonna go over a couple more things. First is the speedrun start. So to do the speedrun start, while you're pressing the go button here, you press the go button, you press jump, so it's basically this motion, right? You do this plus go plus air roll, and we haven't really talked about air roll. So air roll is kind of like a free movement option. So whenever you're in the air, you can air roll like kind of freely. I can do backflips, I can do forward flips, I can do side flips. It's basically just a free movement option. So now we add that to the jump forward and then flip back down. You see I get a bigger acceleration. And I'll put some footage on screen showing the time difference because I really do not feel like doing all of that again. I already tested it. So another good use of it is to say, remember, if I crash here, right? Speed run, start, get my boost back. I'm back in the race that quickly. So while we're here, let's talk about routing. So normally I can take this path and be fine. I'm gonna crash into the wall here, so. But let's say we take a different way, right? See how that, say that checkpoint's right there? You can actually phase through checkpoints like this. So you can skip that whole like back section right here, and you can do the same over here. This big loop coming up, you don't have to take all of that. Remember your air mobility? If you hold down, boom, you clear that. Easy. So we're coming up on the tunnel here. Let's talk about tunnels. So tunnels are going to be the bane of your existence, right? Because you can very easily do something like this, and it's going to ruin your day. You do not want that to happen, right? You see how hard it is to control once you get into this kind of state? So remember, when you're in a tunnel, you are in control. And try to never really leave like this bottom area you see here. Try never to leave that bottom area, right? And just treat it like track. Some tunnels are going to be smaller than this though, so you got to be careful. Treat it like any other track, you'll be fine. So now we're going to talk about routing. If I come up here, you can see there's boost pads. I didn't really make them, but you can see there's boost pads there. And those are for when you get to the second part, your second lap. Now I can do this to cross this gap, and that'd be fine and dandy, but it's relatively slow. Same as taking the full thing here, right? Even if I take the full thing here, I can try and cut corners. Remember, you can cut checkpoints, cut that. So you could, what you can do is you can always come into speedrun and just practice getting cuts wherever you can, and then try and implement that whenever you go into ranked play. And if you really don't like tunnels, you can take the outside of them. You don't even have to take the tunnel. Watch, boom. But I want to show you where that top path I showed last run. I'm going to show you how you can set that up. Cut here. Now, be mindful when you're taking these cuts that you're not on the ground, therefore you can't build drift. And if you can't build drift, you don't get turbo. So always find like a happy balance when you're taking these cuts. So you see how like I get up here, right? I get up here, I can come up here and just glide over it, and then I can get over to this part. Right, you can use your boost, fly over here, boom, get to that part easily. So yeah, all right, let's move on. All right, so we're on K2 Raceway Doe. If you notice, this is a second version of the K2 Raceway we were on a few minutes ago, and I mainly brought you over here to talk about hazards because I didn't really talk about hazards. So remember the drift and the jump? Do that, you can clear a hazard. But what is a hazard? See these little red orb things right here that you see right in front of you? See, I get to a nice speed, boom, right? I run through them, they slow me down. I think they do 100. Yeah, they do it. They slow you down for 100 speed. So it's the opposite of the boost pad. You can counteract going through a hazard by boosting. Same thing, it's like going off-road in Mario Kart. But I don't recommend you do all that. You have more mobility in the air than you think. So if I do this, I jump, boom, clear it, yada yada. Jump, you can jump over them and still hold your boost. You can dodge them very easily. Flip up to these boost pads. Mag there. I never get that mag, that's why. Here, remember to hold your drift. You can flip over them just as usual. Boom, clear track. Really, once you learn all the other stuff I taught you earlier in the video, these become a non-issue, right? Once you learn how to hold your drift in the air, These do not become a problem at all. Just dodge them. Start drift. Hold it. Make sure you hold your drift. Boom. Because once you start, and these are scattered throughout, I want to say like 65% of the tracks in the game. But like once you find a route through these reds, they become a non-obstacle unless you get thrown off. Alright. But essentially, if you get hit by a red and you somehow get hit by another one, the second one won't take effect. Because you're, well, at least in the quick session, their second one won't take effect. Because you have an invincibility period. Now, this is supposed to be like a regular tutorial. I could teach you B-hops. I'm not going to do that. Because I feel like there's people better suited to that. Just know it includes air roll that we talked about earlier. And it requires like the flip. Now, a little piece of tech I'm gonna let you off with. If we come over here, see how there's a ledge there? If I flip the ledge early and flip it, I'll get my foot back and I can flip again. Same thing here. I missed it. It's okay. But those are called double flips. So if you touch the ground, you get. It's the same thing as touching the ground. So it's kind of like I start a drift, flip, jump, flip, jump, flip, jump, flip, like that. Right? To basically get a B-hop going, you use your air roll, you can use your back tire. It's essentially this motion. All it is a double flip motion. Right? And you're just kind of, it's like slowly keeping your momentum. But like I said, there are better people suited to teach you B-hopping than me. I've never really fully learned how to really do it. So I will leave that to much better players than me. Alright, so for the most part, that's pretty much how you play rocket racing. But I haven't really shown you how to navigate all this stuff. I just kind of been showing you like the different maps. So let's talk about it for a second. When you pull up the rocket racing menu, it's going to look like this. You have ranked racing, casual racing, speed run, that fake ass Twin Flame Island track. It's a good track, but the feature track has been bogus ever since they took out Thrash Mountain. That's another thing. Then you have the tutorial. The speed run here is not the speed run I've been using to show you all of these like different things and how to play rocket racing. The speed run here is basically a playlist of tracks that will run through automatically. Yeah, basically that's pretty much all it is. It's time trials, right? So you play it for like 7 minutes and then it goes on to the next track and so on, right? Until you stop. Oh, okay, casuals is like ranked racing, but without the rank. And it used to have every track in the game, but for some reason around, I want to say October, at the start of Fortnite mirrors, they just made it to where it only plays like the starter tracks, and you'll see what I mean by the starter tracks in a minute. Now, ranked racing is the main course, so to speak. Just like any ranked playlist in Fortnite, it goes from bronze all the way to Unreal. Then that's just the first section. You go down here to browse tracks, you're going to see a bunch of stuff. Now, you see all of these tracks? I recommend some of them, but not all of them. The new tracks by Epic, that's a lie. Those have been the same new tracks in the game. Those tracks are new a year ago. Now, I'm not saying don't try community tracks, because some of them are good. Just don't play any of like these mega ramps or the brain rot or like, you know, don't play those. They're not well made. So now you have these tabs for racing and speedrun. Don't do these. These suck. Don't ever do those. But if you ever wanted to play like the 3-lap race you would get in like casuals or in ranked racing, this is the stuff. Like if you just want to play that one track and get better at that one track in a 3-lap format, this is where you come to. It has every track in the game, and you can run through it by yourself or within the party. This is basically how you get like private tracks and stuff going on. Now you notice that they are split within 3 different categories: novice, advanced, and expert. Generally, if you're new at the game, and this goes for like the ranked playlist as well, if you're new at the game, you're really only going to get tracks in the novice category. You have to understand that a lot of Rocket Racing's design philosophy changed over each themed update, so to speak. So, for instance, day drifting, right? Day drifting 1, we like to call it, right? It's a very boring track. I mean, there's some cuts you can do that kind of make it interesting, but other than that, it's just a basic ass track. Seafoam, on the other hand, is essentially like a better version of day drifting. More curves, it has elevation, it has, you know, it's a better version of day drifting. So not every easy track is the same under the same philosophy. Usually if it's like a desert, like a lot of them are good. Festive Falls 1, very short track, runs well, probably one of the better novice tracks in the game from Season 0. As we go into like Neon Rush, which are like, you'll start like the city or the nighttime tracks, you would like to call it. Neon Rush, like Tri-City and Jackrabbit, Clear, Curvy Canyon, Lazy Lake, Airborne, Anarchy Arches, it blows all of these out of the water. They're just better designed, and they're a little bit more open, right? And then past that, you know, Lavish Lagoon, I don't know about Obsidian, but Skull Rock Isle, right? Those tracks are better than the other ones. So generally, if they look more designed, they're going to be better than the ones that look less designed, for the most part. Now, when you start getting into, I want to say gold, plat, maybe even early diamond, you're going to start getting more advanced tracks, right? So Twin Flame Island, everything here in this area. Same philosophy. If it's in the desert, it's probably not going to be better. The only exception will probably be Windy Way. Windy Way is kind of like a perfect track, and so is Anaconda. Those tracks will be timeless. Yeah, you'll see when you play them. Those are Season 0 tracks. Then we start going into like Neon Rush tracks, so that's Slap Happy, Seaside Farms, Python, Alpine, Borealis. I want to say Shipwrecked as well. These tracks, better designed, a little bit more going on to them than Season 0 tracks. And then we get to Azure Grotto and Twin Flame Island. The tracks, as you go on from each themed update, will get better. And this is the last time I bring it up, I swear. These tracks usually have hazards, or in some way or form, or if they don't have hazards, they have a lot of open areas that make it difficult to just race, like I've been kind of showing you. And then we get to the expert tracks. These tracks are going to be full of hazards all the way through, or they're going to have tough terrain. So that includes Delirium, Conduit, and I'll put footage of them. Delirium, Conduit, those tracks have very tough terrain that, you know, early players won't really know how to do. And then you have tracks like Sidewinder, Riviera, and like Mine Mayhem, where they have a lot of hazards on the track, and you gotta maneuver around those hazards to really get a good placement. And then you just kind of like have technical tracks. Buddy Beach is like one of those technical tracks where like you move at a high speed, and if you don't know how to maneuver at a high speed, you're gonna have a hard time with the track. Don't get me wrong, it still has hazards, but it's more of a speed track than anything. And then you have Basalt Burrow, which is like everything I just said for like the past 3 minutes, all into one track. The fact that that cleared is astonishing. So yeah, but that's just racing, right? Same thing with speedrun, which is what I've been taking you into. Speedruns have everything I've said, but in a more they are all in like a speedrun format. The only difference between speedrun and the racing categories is that the speedruns have extra tracks built specifically for speedrun. So that includes Arrow, Pleasant Detour, Anaconda Bite, Puddle Skipper, Tilted Turns, Olympico, Riviera Rush, Sidewinder Sprint, Inverse Arches. Yeah, all of those, right? And the same kind of principle applies, right? The only difference is we didn't really get any more speedrun tracks, at least officially, that could be like played at any time like this since season 0. So take that as you will. But for the most part, that is Rocket Racing. It's everything you simply need to know. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Rocket Racing content. I'm a little bit more active on Twitter right now, but I plan to do more YouTube content in the future. With that being said, have yourselves a damn good one.